I don't think there should be any barriers to someone being involved with art. And by thinking like that, it means that you've put something out there that anyone can enjoy, and you can take it at face value. I believe you can create something that instills a feeling of wonder in anyone. A 3-year-old child looking at something is their natural response to that, or it could be someone who's seen and heard and has many, many experiences, but still it takes them back to that childhood kind of feeling of awe and wonder. I'm Jason Bruges. I'm an artist, trained as an architect. I have a practice that's kind of grounded in using architecture as a canvas, but create work that is responding to the environment it's in. A lot of the work is grounded in the science and the rules that sort of underpin the natural world and how we interact with it. But quite often will be something about environment that triggers an idea for a project. And whether it's geology, geography, weather, a conversation, observations about people, environment or systems or algorithms, those sorts of things will drive how a project might come together. Any way we can sort of embellish, add to, augment our environment with another layer of intervention, I think is helpful, I think is interesting. We did a project for the Museum of the Future around the future of wellness, thinking about the effect of water on our mental state. We quite often like to be near water or around water to kind of be calm or to sort of take us somewhere else, really. We used water and essentially created a sort of futuristic multi-sensorial ripple tank, accompanied with a soundscape and also with a haptic environment. For me, it's kind of interesting, sort of how does a sort of very natural mixed media installation intervention contribute to an environment in a way that can sort of relax, create something that's almost meditative. One of my earlier pieces of work was called Litmus. It was a series of sculptures along the A13 where it goes out of London. One of them measures tide levels, one measures light levels, one measures the amount of power being produced by some wind turbines, one counts the number of cars. It's data visualization, so it's bringing your environment to life and engaging people. What I quite like, people were going, is that the football score? Or is that the speed I'm going? Or is, what are these sculptures about? It's that conversation, it's that interaction, it's that trigger for me that I like. My mother was trained to be an artist, and my father was studying to be an astrophysicist, but then was a computer scientist, computer engineer, software engineer. So you can sort of imagine, I think just the DNA of kind of art and technology colliding in me. I decided very logically that kind of taking the arts, the sciences, and finding out where they met, architecture seemed to be a kind of profession and a skill and a thing that I would study. So I chose architecture. History defines us. Even if you're forward-looking and incredibly innovative, there is a lot in where you've been before. When I was a child, we didn't have a television. But one of the things we were allowed to watch when we were near one was sort of natural history programs. So I had this sort of affinity with people like David Attenborough. Actually, that is a kind of theme that has appeared in the studio's work. It's very much referencing, celebrating, and then actually sometimes now obviously protecting or being protective of the natural world. We've got a prototype on the wall called Variegation Index. The commissioner had a lobby space in our office development, which they were trying to create something sort of slightly different. I remembered a study by NASA in the late 70s. They were looking at different types of plants, how they remove toxins from the air. We started to look at how can you understand how well plants are growing, how well they're photosynthesizing, how much chlorophyll is in the leaves, how green the leaves are. We built our own cameras which film the plants, and we use that as a set of instructions to drive our media installation. So we've got a kind of conversation between plants, environment, and artwork. It's a catalyst to make people think about, well, if we bring plants into our environment, how is that improving our well-being? How does it improve the environment? How is it improving our physiology, psychology, and just sort of general kind of well-being in the space? I think the arts can tell powerful stories. I like to think they're a catalyst potentially for behaviour change. Very often those sparks or those catalysts for me are about environment, making people aware of certain things. And it might be about the environment they're in and appreciating it, or it might be about an environment that perhaps needs extra help or protection. We've got a project which is historically where the royal family came in to Wembley Stadium. When we first saw it, it was kind of low, dark, probably a bit damp, not very inviting. Thinking of this kind of royal route, thinking about the audience that would line a processional route like that. We created this canvas that captures your movement and plays it back to you. That environment has been transformed. So now it's an unchoreographed, unscripted, unorganized space in terms of people go down there to dance, film, skateboard, cycle through, just watch themselves, pose. For me, I think, we have an opportunity. We're creating things that people notice, that make them stop, make them think, make them build their own narratives. And I think that that's incredibly powerful. This competition came up for a festival in Tokyo to run alongside the Olympics and Paralympics. So thought we'll create a robotic installation, a performance that celebrates the kind of Paralympics and what it's good for. We pitched the idea of a robotic Zen garden that would be informed by the kind of athletics and the kind of movements of the Olympians and Paralympians. Their movements create a notation and a kind of choreography for the robots. And then in turn, they create this kind of live homage to the Zen garden, the kind of rocks and the gravel, which are then meticulously choreographed by 4 robotic arms traveling on tracks to craft and shape this landscape. I mean, delivering a piece of work in a pandemic, people needed something to sort of nourish them creatively, to go and see something, take them out of that day-to-day kind of drudgery of just obviously being within all the restrictions. The development of ideas, the kind of bringing to life of artworks and their manifestation is a team effort. My team is a multidisciplinary team of nearly 30 people, and we kind of have engineers, scientists, coders, product designers, project managers, accountants, performers, architects within the team. I'm an artist, but perhaps I'm more like a conductor. Without all these people, these artworks wouldn't come to life. So it's worth bearing in mind if you're considering perhaps working in the arts or in a creative industry. There are so many amazing ways where the sciences, engineering, coding, strategic thinking can all feed into the arts, and actually the arts can feed back into them. At the moment, we're working on a waterfall, which is all about inciting a feeling of wellness. But what colours is it in water that makes us feel like that? How then do we get a blue that we associate with water from a technology? We've got a project we just finished for a Ukrainian energy company, and it was part of an abstract map we've created of the Ukraine. It's a sort of whole series of these highly polished circular metal chassis which move light around, and they create essentially a dashboard of the Ukraine and show where energy is being produced and where it's being distributed. And it gives you this sort of living map. And the idea behind the map was to show the change from fossil fuels to renewables. I think people will respond differently to art and culture. And I think there's lots of different ways of consuming it. There will undoubtedly be bits of artistic punctuation in a journey you take that will relieve you the monotony of that journey. And you may be taking that in, you may be not taking that in, but it will be subliminally having an effect on how you feel. I guarantee that. Design, technology together, the arts, different forms of craft, all of these things so important and valuable and have huge value, both obviously our day-to-day lives, but our future economy and kind of well-being.